In 1949, George Orwell defined the ultimate fear of the modern age, the Big Brother state, an omniscient government where every movement is logged and every citizen is watched. This concept is grounded in the panopticon, a prison design by Foucault. It is a circular structure visible from a central watchtower. Because inmates cannot see into the tower, they assume they are always monitored, becoming their own guards. But imagine taking this prison architecture and turning it into a spectacle. What happens when that constant observation is no longer about discipline, but is broadcast to the world as entertainment? We see this psychology play out on the modern street. As we become aware of pervasive cameras and data monitoring, we internalize the gaze of the network, adjusting our actions to match the expectations of an invisible audience. The ultimate dystopian nightmare arrives when this loss of privacy is legally justified. It is the moment a citizen's private existence is stripped of its humanity and sold as a commodified media product. Nolan is an ordinary man living a routine life in a near-future city. He is diligent, unremarkable, and completely unaware that he is the star of a 24/7 global broadcast. In our current system, this is closer to reality than we think. Privacy is context-dependent. The law draws a hard line at the front door. Under U.S. law, a person has no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public space. This provides a massive legal shield for broadcasters. Courts generally allow the recording of people in public if the resulting content is deemed newsworthy or holds general public interest. Because public interest is such a broad defense, a private citizen would find it nearly impossible to win a privacy claim against a television program airing their movements. An authoritarian regime doesn't need to break the law to watch you. They simply exploit these existing precedents, using the claim of public spectacle to legally justify absolute, non-consensual surveillance. Nolan's reality begins to crack when he spots a glitch. For a split second, he sees himself walking past a cafe on a live news ticker. It's a small anomaly, but it is the first thread of a larger unraveling. To capture a life in its entirety, the city is blanketed in hardware. This network of pervasive CCTV, hovering drones, and street-level sensors ensures that no corner of the public square is truly unobserved. AI algorithms have replaced the need for human TV editors. This technology identifies stars in a crowd, tracks their emotional states, and compiles their daily routines into automated highlight reels. 5G mesh networks provide the speed necessary to transmit these thousands of feeds instantly. Any camera in the city can become a broadcast-quality stream from millions of viewers at the touch of a button. This process strips away the subject's authentic context. The routine of getting coffee or walking home is re-edited, forced into a narrative of entertainment news for the masses. Curation is the most invasive stage of the digital panopticon. The technology creates a fictional narrative from a person's real life, overwriting their identity without their permission. Nolan hacks a public feed and traces the source. He finally sees the horrifying scale of the exploitation. His entire life has been turned into a state-run production. He finds the city's giant urban screen and watches himself. He sees his own movements being treated as a product for the millions of citizens who passively consume his stolen reality. This is social engineering at its most cynical. State media portrays these broadcasts as public services, using Nolan as a symbol of the honest worker to maintain the illusion of a transparent, happy society. Nolan attempts to fight back through the law, citing privacy torts and labor rights, but the bureaucracy is ironclad. In this regime, his individual rights are secondary to the public interest of the broadcast. We see the precedent for this in modern authoritarian contexts. In systems like China's, there are no effective privacy protections against the state's use of mass data and facial recognition. Individual legal rights are an illusion when the state holds the unilateral power to define what constitutes a public spectacle. Nolan refuses to follow the script. He quits his job, leaves his home, and dismantles the routine that the state's media algorithm depends on to create a coherent show. He moves directly under the giant screen and becomes a street beggar. He stays in the camera's view, but he refuses to be the honest worker they want to broadcast. This breaks the broadcast's algorithm. The state needs a productive citizen to sell their narrative, but Nolan forces them to broadcast a broken outcast instead. He weaponizes his visibility. By making himself an eyesore in their perfect city, he uses the state's own cameras to broadcast a message of dissent. The regime faces a dilemma. To remove him would be to admit their live and unfiltered broadcast is a lie, but to keep him on screen allows a subversive element to reach millions. By embracing the gaze of the panopticon and controlling what it sees, Nolan successfully turns the state's primary tool of control into a platform for rebellion. In his final act of defiance, Nolan hijacks a live audio feed. He speaks directly to the viewers, confronting them with the reality that their entertainment is built on his suffering. His victory is not a legal one, it is philosophical. He shatters the illusion of the show and forces the audience to question the morality of the spectacle. The fiction mirrors our reality. We are seeing a global convergence of mass data collection and media infrastructure, where the architecture of surveillance is becoming the foundation of our social life. Dystopian surveillance is ultimately about the commodification of the human experience. It is the process of stripping away agency to turn individual lives into data for control or profit. As monitoring becomes more pervasive, international human rights norms are breaking down. The right to privacy is being overridden by states that prioritize total visibility. When the world is turned into a stage for the state, the single most profound act of human defiance is to refuse to play the role you've been assigned.